You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Oh, man. There is so much happening right now. You got the release of the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, the less than spectacular opening for Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore, the announcement of World of Warcraft Dragonflight expansion, the release of the Batman on HBO Max, and, of course, the surprise hit series Winning Time. We'll try to talk about all of it coming up on the Dan Wickline Show today. Stay tuned. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. I really want one of those, like, the more you know things. So every time we say The Experience, you get to like, do-do-do-do. Need to get graphics on that. I think that would be fun. There is just a ton of stuff going on right now. I mean, last week I was literally coming up with topics a couple hours before the show. Today I have 7 things written down to at least mention. One of them, of course, is I did a binge watch of the show Winning Time, the Dynasty of the Los Angeles Lakers, which may sound like a show that will not interest you if you're not a sports fan, but I got to tell you, you're wrong. This show is fantastic, and most of the episodes are co-written by Rodney Barnes, comic book writer, creator of the Philadelphia series, which I think one of the latest issue of Philadelphia comes out this week. So that's gonna be the big topic today, because I think this is a show that if you're not watching it, you should be, regardless if you care about basketball at all. I think knowing about basketball is the least thing you need for this show. A sense of humor and basically a bag of popcorn. It's all you need to enjoy this show. But we're going to get to that. We're going to put that aside for now because there's a ton of other things to talk about. I'm going to give you guys a heads up that tonight's Moon Knight is supposed to be big. Now, I don't know if big as in, a big star, big action. I don't know what. But keep in mind when they sent out the review screeners, which they don't send me. Marvel, hook me up, man. Come on. But they didn't send them to me. But they sent out 4 of the 6 episodes and didn't send out the last 2, which tells you that something happens in 4 and then it all goes crazy in 5 and 6, and they don't want that out there. But everything I'm getting is that there is something big that happens in this episode, and it drops tonight, tomorrow morning, depending on where you're at. Here in LA, it drops at midnight. If you're on the East Coast, it drops at 3 a.m. But I'm seeing stuff from people involved that Twitter is going to be blowing up with this. So if you don't have a chance to watch it early, stay off social media, because just the buzz that I'm getting off of this is going to be big, and this is not something you're going to want to have spoiled. So avoid social media, and especially with the words Moon Knight. If you can put the filter on saying to take it off, I would do that. Also, literally right before the show started, I got a notification that I had an Amazon package out front, ran outside, and I found the new handbook for, there we go. This is the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. This is the playtest rule book. Now, it's written by Michael Forbeck, which seems a lot like Forbush, the famous Forbush man from Marvel Comics. This is, like I said, a rule book for playing this new role-playing game involving the Marvel characters. There's Captain America and Black Panther. I know nothing about it. I know there's going to be a digital component, like an app or something. I didn't even know this was coming out. My friend Dan Taylor, former editor over at IDW, my editor at IDW when I was doing stuff there, he posted about it, having pre-ordered it. So I went out and pre-ordered it, and it showed up today. So it's just coming out. If you are an RPG fan and a Marvel fan, this may just be up your alley. When I was a kid, they had a Marvel superheroes role-playing game, and it was probably the first role-playing game I ever played. And I remembered it being a lot of fun. So if that's your thing, you may want to check this out. Again, I don't know anything more about it than picking up the book. I will read it, and if there's stuff to talk about, then I will bring it up next week. This week is jam-packed. Like I said, we got today's show, and then tomorrow I finally got to see the Batman. That's another thing I wanted to talk about today. The Batman debuted on HBO Max last night, and I'm seeing everybody talking about it again. It's like this complete, unlike anything else when it hits social media or when it hits the streaming services, this is just blowing up out there because I think some people were hesitant to go back in the theater. Now, this made $750 million, so they weren't that hesitant. It opened for 120 some odd million domestically opening weekend, so they weren't that hesitant. But I know some people that didn't get out to see it, and they're doing such a quick release onto HBO Max on this, which I love because I was dealing with some health stuff, and going and sitting in the theater wasn't high on my list. I wanted to go see it. I didn't get there. But, so I finally got to see it for the first time last night. And I will tell you now, I was pleasantly surprised. What I said on Facebook after watching it is, it felt like the type of Batman story that I would write if they had asked me to. And I'm not saying that I would have come up with something as good as Matt Reeves did, but it's in that feel. It's kind of a 70s. It's got this 70s feel to it. Films like The French Connection and Dog Day Afternoon and The Eagle Has Landed. It's got that kind of suspense, 70s suspense film with touches of David Fincher with like Seven and things like that. It's dark without being oppressive. Sometimes you watch a movie and you just feel like, oh my God, it's bringing me down. But this really had a good pacing to it. It's a 3-hour movie, and I know a lot of people have complained about that. And you know what? Maybe they could have taken 10, 15 minutes out of the movie, made it a little faster, but I don't know what 10, 15 minutes I would remove because it really works. It's the journey of a hero from vigilante to hero. It's similar to what they tried to do years ago in the Daredevil movie, but they do it well here. They take him from being, there's the scene in the trailer where he punches the guy and then says, "I'm vengeance." And it becomes kind of a thing where everybody's referring to him as vengeance. And by the end of the movie, it's that realization that, to becoming a hero. And it's done so well. And the relationship between Batman and Gordon and Batman and Catwoman are some of the highlights, but also the relationship between Bruce and Alfred is another highlight, which I didn't expect because there's not a lot. Andy Serkis does a great job as Alfred, but he doesn't get a lot of time. And I really enjoyed the connection between the two of them. It's weird in a lot of ways because it's the first Batman movie I've seen where it feels like we get more Batman than we do Bruce Wayne. We have him in the mask and the costume or in the hoodie more than we ever get him as just being Bruce Wayne. And in a lot of ways, to me, Bruce Wayne doesn't exist in this story because the millionaire playboy persona that he adopts isn't in this movie. This is that weird area of year 2 where he's still so focused on his mission that he's not paying attention to the Wayne legacy, the Wayne Foundation, any of that stuff. So it is really an interesting take. It feels a lot like Batman Year One by Frank Miller, parts of Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Batman Earth One. There's some of the Long Halloween in it. And I think that's the thing, is that Matt Reeves not only borrowed from all of these stories, but then made his own stories with those elements. So at no point do you sit down going, oh, well, he's adapting this or he's adapting that. It's more like, oh, he took that from this book, this bit of information, and oh, he borrowed that from there. But again, he makes a solid story with all of those pieces, and it really works. So I know a lot of people, there's a lot of negativity about the film too, and I think some of it is that Batman is one of those characters that can be written in many different ways. If you pop him into the Justice League, he's one type of character. If you put him with Robin, he's a different type of character. When he's working the streets alone, that's another type of character. And I think in a lot of ways, if you compare Robert Pattinson's Batman to all of the ones that came before, I think that you could actually rank the Batmans based on how they're presented. Ben Affleck's Batman was part of the Justice League. He was that Batman. He was the leader, the teammate, the strategist. And I really loved his portrayal of Batman. I don't think his portrayal would have worked in this film because it's not that type of film. This is the observant detective, not the world's greatest detective because he's not there yet. And what Pattinson does is dead on for this film. Oh, Sean says, I enjoy the Batman quite a bit, and I agree on liking the elements that he used to create this story. Well, thank you, Sean. Yeah, but that's the thing, is that, different Batmans work in different scenarios. And I think Pattinson plays this scenario excellently. Just nails what this is. And I was not predisposed to like this. There's a lot of Kurt Cobain and Nirvana feeling to this. There's the use of the Nirvana song. There's the fact Matt Reeves even said that he looked at Bruce Wayne as being like Kurt Cobain. And I'm not a fan. So I wasn't, and then also just really felt like we'd done Batman to death at this point. We had the Dark Knight trilogies with Christian Bale, who I really liked as Batman. We had all the previous movies. We had Ben Affleck. We have, the Titans going on. We have Batwoman. It just seemed like we'd been doing it to death. And then I sat down and got into this film, and it just really hooked me. But I'm gonna leave it there because that's going to be the topic for tomorrow. Sean, please come back tomorrow. We are going to do a deep dive into the film, breaking it down. And again, I know we're months away from it. Well, about 45 days since it debuted. And that's the thing, is that this has got that quick turnaround to hit HBO Max. And I really like that. So we're going to take a deep dive into that tomorrow. and that'll be our main topic. But all right, we're continuing through my list of other things to talk about, and then we're going to get to winning time. They announced World of Warcraft Dragonflight, which is going to be the new expansion. I have been playing World of Warcraft since 2007. Basically, Lisa sent me an email one day. I hadn't talked to her in years. She goes, I just started playing World of Warcraft. You need to go buy the game so we can play together. And I closed the email, got up, drove over to Fry's Electronics, bought the original and Burning Crusade, which is all that was out at the time. Came home, loaded it up, created a prop warrior, and have been playing ever since. Love the game. I've had times that I've stepped away, come back, stepped away, come back. I've had expansions I've loved, expansions I didn't like. What they announced today, Dragonflight, is exciting because they're bringing in some of the elements they'd taken away from the game, like the ability to really customize your character through the talent trees. They're bringing that back. They've really kind of dumbed it down to where you only had like 5 choices to make. They've gone so much into bad areas and dead areas, and the world is asunder, and this is all about the world healing and the dragons returning. And we're going to get 5 new zones that are built around the different colored dragons. And there's a new hero class character. I love the Demon Hunters and I love the Death Knights because there's something more. Well, these, what the hell is the name of it? Hang on a second, I got it here. Evokers. You basically get to play a human dragon hybrid, and you get to be a new class called an evoker. So not only are you getting a new race, but a new class that go hand in hand. And it's kind of like with the Demon Hunters, you have to play that class or that race. But I am so looking forward to that. I think that's going to be awesome. Also, they're introducing dragon riding, and it's from the beginning, so you don't have to run around and do 10,000 things just to earn the ability to fly in an area. You're going to get it from straight on. You're going to get your own customizable dragon or drake mount that you can, tweak and add horns and color and scales. And I'm really excited. I am more excited for this expansion than I've been for an expansion in a long time. So as we get more information on that, I will probably talk about that more. Again, I'm a big Warcraft player, so we will talk about that. The one other thing, there's 2 other things I want to talk about, which is the Thor trailer. We'll go over that a bit after the first break, and then we'll talk about winning time. But Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore made $43 million its opening weekend, which is the lowest forever for a Harry Potter movie, for anything in the franchise. I think with all the backlash for J.K. Rowling's stance on transgender rights, all the problems with Ezra Miller's legal stuff, having to letting Johnny Depp go because of his public battles with his Amanda Heard, his ex-wife, all of this stuff, I think has hurt this franchise. Plus, I don't necessarily think this was the greatest endeavor. I don't think that picking one of the textbooks and using that as a way into a new avenue of the franchise was the best approach, especially to come off with a 5-movie thing. The first Fantastic Beasts was fun. The second one was like, okay, now we're kind of into, I haven't seen it yet, but it doesn't excite me. And I like Jude Law. I'll see it when it comes to HBO Max. But there's been talk about them doing a HBO series, and that may be in question now. But honestly, I think they need to step back, look at this a lot like the Star Wars franchise, and look at The Mandalorian as the roadmap for what to do with this franchise. And we're going to talk about that next week. There's going to be an episode where I focus on the Harry Potter franchise and what they could do to salvage it. So we'll talk about that as well next week. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and then we'll get into Winning Time. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Maybe an echo effect. Experience. All right, Sean says, not going to lie, I have not watched any of the Fantastic Beasts movies. Said the first one's fun. Second one's all right. Haven't seen the third one yet. But when your movie drops to 43 million when you're used to doing close to 100 million, it's time to rethink what you're doing and maybe do a little less with Rawlings and just have fun. But I haven't even watched all the Harry Potter movies, so I haven't. Fair enough, John. All right, let's see. This is my pick of the week wall thing. I haven't picked a new one yet, so I'm going to stick with this one for now because the Moon Knight series is going on. This is the Gerard Zaffino variant cover for Moon Knight #1, which came out last summer. I'm hyping this one because A, it's a freaking cover. B, Moon Knight is popular right now. And also because it's a good way to remind you guys that if you want to get a variant cover, looking for something different, go to comicshoplocator.com. If you don't know where your local store is, you put in your zip code. They'll tell you where your local comic shop is. If for some reason you can't find it that way and you don't want to deal with eBay and sellers like that, you can always check out dynamicforces.com. They are a participant here on the site. And this is actually where I got this particular book. Dynamic Forces, they carry a lot of variants, including this one. They also have a CGC graded version of it. So if that's your thing. But check it out. Moon Knight #1. And it's a good storyline. It's Jed MacKay writing. It's, I can't think of his name, and I don't have the other book here. It's really good art. It's a fun storyline. It leans into the whole multiple personalities thing that they're doing. So, but that's such a cool cover. That's so iconic looking. So, all right, let's get back into it. Let's talk about the trailer that everybody is saying finally dropped, Thor Love and Thunder. Now, it is kind of unique because normally for a movie that comes out, they would have dropped the trailer sooner. I guess for a Marvel movie, there's X number of weeks before the movie comes out that they drop the first teaser trailer, and this one missed it. Just missed it. Now, why? No one said. Taika Waititi was having fun with it online. He was talking about the fact that fans are already going to start clamoring for the full trailer now. Stuff like that. Or maybe this is the full movie. So he's having fun with it. And it was kind of ridiculous. But I know a lot of people are excited for this movie. And I guess I should give my thoughts in the sense that I really liked Thor Ragnarok. Unlike most people, it is not my favorite Thor movie. It is a good movie. It's a fun movie, and I will watch it and enjoy it. And Taika Waititi is brilliant, and he makes great movies. My favorite Thor movie is the first one. Kenneth Branagh directed, because to me, that's Thor. That is what I got from the comics and stuff like that. Now, that said, that's not what Marvel's MCU is doing with Thor anymore. They've moved on, and I'm fine with that. I will continue. I will happily go see Love and Thunder. I will enjoy it. I think the comedy they bring in, Chris Hemsworth is great at comedic timing. Taika Waititi is brilliant. And I think I'm going to have an absolutely great time seeing the movie. But if you ask me what my favorite Thor movie is, my favorite Thor movie is the first one, because that's the Thor I grew up with. That's Asgard and Odin and the Warriors 3 and the World Tree and Heimdall and Frost Giants. And we're so far away from that now that this doesn't really feel like a Thor movie to me anymore. It's still a good movie. Ragnarok was fun. Was just a lot of fun. And like I said, Love and Thunder looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I love that they're bringing Korg back, that we're going to spend more times with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And which two directors can you think of that would work well off of each other and kind of have that same tone as Taika Waititi and James Gunn? The Guardians felt a little off in Endgame because they had to change them up. But with Taika, they still feel the same way that that James Gunn writes them. So that to me is interesting. John says, I'm not a Marvel guy, but isn't this movie based on a Thor story? It is. It's loosely based on Jason Aaron's run. So what Taika does is he'll take a concept and then he'll work his framework around it. And then he'll kind of ad-lib a lot of it. So what we get isn't quite the same thing, but there are definitely elements being pulled from the Jason Aaron's run on Thor. Dark World to me wasn't bad. I don't hate any Marvel movie. To me, the worst Marvel movie is still better than a lot of movies that are out there. So Dark World wasn't bad to me. It wasn't great. And I think that it suffered from a confusion between what the studio wanted and what the director wanted. And you'll talk to the director, and he says that a lot of his stuff got cut and was changed around. And I could see that because they were doing something very different. I think tonally it changed. And I think Dark World was it just had its issues from the beginning. I mean, Patty Jenkins was the original director on it and left because of creative differences. Then they brought in Alan, cannot think of his last name at this point, but he was a director off of Game of Thrones. So, they brought in the Game of Thrones director, And then they didn't really give us a Game of Thrones style story, which I would have been all for. So I think he went darker than they wanted, and they tried to lighten it up through edit. I know if you read the story of Marvel Studios, there's a lot of talk about the changes they made, cuts they made, how they had a hard time in editing. Alan Taylor, thank you. And till they found the movie they wanted to put out, but you know, when you do it that way, when you're not really putting out the movie the director sat it down to make, you are going to end up with an inferior product. So someday I'd love to see them put out the director's cut just because I'm curious. But yeah, Dark World's not bad. We don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. Mainly, I'm just talking about Taika Waititi's movies and how, to me, they're fun, they're exciting, but to me, it's not Thor that I want to see. You know, I'd still like to see more stories done with Asgardian Thor, and what we've got now is a very different Thor. Let's talk about the trailer. I thought it was very interesting in that we get no image at all of the villain, or what hints at the plot. You know, we get to see Mjolnir pulls itself back together, and that Jane Foster gets the power of Thor, which kind of contradicts the fact that he's not supposed to be the god of hammers. He's the god of lightning. So I'm not sure how they were going to reconcile that, because they spent last movie convincing us he didn't need the hammer to then have the hammer bring her the powers. Seems kind of weird to me. John says, true, I wonder if the reason I like Marvel movies so much is because I haven't read a Marvel comic since the 90s. That could be. One of the things you have to do, whether it's a Marvel movie, a DC movie, is you kind of have to divorce yourself from the characters. And series are the same way. I know some people are having a problem with Moon Knight because it's not the Moon Knight they know from the comics. And some of these guys, we did Pop Go the Writers on Sunday night, and I was talking to Thomas Fortenberry, who was like, my Moon Knight was the one that debuted in Werewolf by Night, which is 1,000 times different than the one we're getting. And it's because the character has evolved, changed, been retconned, and stuff like that. So you kind of have to go in and accept the movie for what it is. And that's what I do with the Taika Waititi Thor movies. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would absolutely like to see more of Asgardian Thor. But that's not what Marvel's doing. And I'm not going to pout and, I'm not going to watch the movies. I'm going to go and I'm going to have a good time. But, I have my preference, but that doesn't change my feelings towards the movie being good or bad. So, hey, Mark, glad to see you joining us. The trailer, excellent choice with music, as always. And I kind of credit that to James Gunn. I think James Gunn, a little bit with Jon Favreau bringing in AC/DC for Iron Man, but how do you not use stuff like that? Yeah. Mark, we're going to spend all day tomorrow talking the Batman. I did a quick cover on it, but tomorrow is going to be the full Batman breakdown. So please join us tomorrow for that. But Marvel is great about bringing in this music, and I think that's something from the Batman. They brought in the one song from Nirvana for the movie, but then they had that same theme over and over, and it got repetitive to me. It's one of the few knocks I have against the Batman movie is the soundtrack and the musical score. But I do love the fact that they brought that in. It makes it tough. Like if we wanted to play the trailer right now, we couldn't play it in its entirety because we'd get dinged for having that song. So we're not going to play the trailer, but you've all seen it. I do love the fact that they start off and they're given this kind of montage of Thor through history, including him running around in his comic accurate costume, which I thought was great. We get a lot of different looks for him, a lot of different costumes. And it seems like maybe we're really just getting the beginning of the movie. We're not really getting most of the movie. We're getting just it's just a teaser. We're getting very little of the actual plot. And I think most of that's going to happen in the beginning. Originally, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was supposed to come out before Thor Love and Thunder. So I think the fact that he's still supposed to be with the Guardians, maybe he won't be in Love and Thunder or Guardians 3. I don't know. But we get the Guardians for a little while, and we get us this montage of him going through all these different, training, doing the chain thing, like the big ropes. He gets rid of the dad bod Thor look. He ends up almost like Thunderstrike. If you're John was saying he was a 90s comic, so you probably remember when Thor was Thunderstrike. So he got like the sleeveless leather vest thing going on. Yeah, I know. Vests are all sleeveless. The leather vest thing going on. So it's that look he's going for. But as I'm watching the trailer, it just makes me think there's a lot they're not showing us here. The fact we're not getting Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, we get one glimpse of what looks to be Zeus, who we believe is going to be played by Russell Crowe. Other than that, we get no references to other gods. It just, again, I think we're just being teased. I think we're just seeing stuff from the opening. There is one part that really gets my attention. A couple parts, but the main thing, one that gets it, there's an image that shows Thor standing center stage looking up. I'm guessing he's watching the Benatar fly off, Quill's new ship. And Korg is standing next to him. Now, if you look at all the still shots and stuff, if you're framing up a shot and you've got two people in a shot, you balance them on the screen. You don't have one here, and then a big open space over here. And that's what they do. There's that scene where he's looking up to see things fly off, and there's a big open space over here. And all I can think of is someone's been removed. Something's gone. So, what's missing? Who's supposed to be standing next to him? Is it Loki? Is it Beta Ray Bill? Is it Hercules? Beta Ray Bill, yeah. So, yeah, there's something missing in that shot. And I think Jay saw that too. I do like the fact that we get to see the Guardians and that Nebula is still with the team. Gamora isn't. So that means that that's still a story for the next Guardians movie. But Kraglin is there with Yondu's fin on. Sean says if it's Beta Ray Bill, Jay will lose his mind. Yeah, John. Yep. Yeah, John. I don't think I had an epiphany when I saw that. Other people probably saw it too, but yeah. So again, I think this is a very sanitized. Like I said, we're not getting gore. We got the one scene of Korg and Thor standing on a mountaintop looking at that giant creature, which is straight out of the Jason Aaron, Assad Riddick comic. It's like it's drawing. And I hear a lot of people online going, well, they should pay him for that. And I don't know. I got mixed feelings on that. All right. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the Thor trailer. Man, this day is just flying by. I haven't even gotten to talk to what my original topic was going to be today. Shows you how things are. But I think the Thor trailer is an interesting teaser. But they showed us Jane. We didn't get Gore. We got Korg. We got the Guardians. We got Thor in about 17 different outfits. I'll hold out until I see the full trailer. I want to see what the plot is now. So, All right, I'm going to switch over to my main topic of the day, which is winning time, the dynasty of the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you're somebody who went, oh, sports, huh? Or the rise of the Laker dynasty is what it's called. Winning time, the rise of the Laker dynasty. If you're about to tap out because it's sports ball, and there's this negativity that nerd culture or comic book culture or whatever has towards sports, which I don't quite understand. You can love both things. But because nerd culture was looked down upon for so long by jocks, it's almost like they need to look down on it instead. I'm not that guy. I grew up in Los Angeles in 1979. I was 9 years old, and I first started watching the Lakers. I first started getting into sports. I had started watching the Dodgers the 2 years prior because of them going to the World Series, and suddenly my dad was watching baseball because he had squares in the office or in his company's pool. So we watched the Dodgers together, and then the Lakers were suddenly winning team, and we had this new guy named Magic Johnson and some big guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which was the strangest name I had ever heard. And so I got into the Lakers in 79-80, that's what this show's about. But yeah. And Rodney Barnes is the writer on most of these episodes. Adam McKay is involved. John C. Reilly plays Jerry Buss. And if you see anything about Jerry Buss, if you see any clips of him, John C. Reilly is nailing it. Just dead on. Which is interesting because he wasn't the original cast. Originally, Michael Shannon, the guy that played Zod in Man of Steel and in Knives Out and stuff like that, he was originally going to be Buss. And he had a problem with the way the show was done because there's a lot of fourth wall breaking, and it happens immediately. Like, the show starts with Jerry Buss in bed with a naked woman at the Playboy Mansion, gets up, starts talking to the audience, gets outside, gets his car, and is telling everybody that he's going to go buy the Lakers. But he keeps switching between in the scene and then talking to the audience. And I guess Shannon couldn't handle that. I guess he's a little more method. So they got John C. Reilly. But I guess Will Ferrell wanted to play the role. And Will Ferrell and Adam McKay and John Reilly are all friends. They've done movies together and stuff. Well, McKay picked Reilly over Ferrell, and I think it ended their friendship. Ferrell and McKay don't talk anymore. There's supposed to be this big feud between them now. So that right there is kind of interesting. But the show itself, again, if you're not a sports person, but you like good stories, comedy, drama, all that mixed together, this thing is absolutely fantastic. It's got the financial problems that Jerry Buss went through, just getting the team. It's got the decision on whether or not you draft Magic Johnson and how everybody was in love with Larry Bird. And there's a heavy insinuation that they liked Bird over Johnson because Bird was white, and Johnson was black. And if you're going to, you're building your team, you want to build it around the white star. And this is coming off of the NCAA championship where Johnson beat Bird. So there was this thing going on there. The Boston Celtics had already signed Bird. Michael Chiklis plays the owner of the Celtics, Red Auerbach, and is just such an a-hole that it's fantastic. And the great thing about this show is they show these characters warts and all. Just the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. And I'm going to get more into it. We got to take a quick break. So we'll come back. We'll spend the rest of the show talking about winning time. And yes, John C. Reilly is criminally underrated. So we'll be right back with Winning Time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, ho there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome everybody, Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I'm your host, Henry Kumpel. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in a minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody, welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember, stick around because after today's show, we've got Black Comic Universe, we've got Minute to Skim It, and then I'll be back with producer Jay as we cover the books in stores this week. And we'll be talking about stuff like The Vampire Slayer #1 from Boom, The Collector Unit 731 #1 from Dark Horse, John Carter of Mars #1 from Dynamite, along with Star Trek Ferengi one-shot, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Armageddon game pregame, and Magic the Hidden Planeswalker #1. So we got a huge lineup tonight, so stick around. And do me a favor, before we get back into our chat, hit that thumbs up button, the like button, whatever it is on whichever format you're watching this. Show us that you're enjoying the show, and we'll keep doing them. So thank you for that. Let's get back into Winning Time, which there's a good chance is one of the best shows on TV. I mean, seriously, this show is so well written. The drama just moves along. The cast is fantastic because besides John C. Reilly, you've got two amazing actors coming in. It's probably the two of the most important characters. You've got Quincy Isaiah playing Magic Johnson. And personally, every once in a while, I have to stop and remember that it's not Magic Johnson. The way this guy smiles and moves and stuff, he just really does have that energy that Magic Johnson has. And then you've got Solomon Hughes playing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And again, just brilliant job. But also the cast around it. Jason Clarke as Jerry West is just so unhinged with his not wanting to do the job, but wanting to do the job. And then you get Brett Cullen, who I've always been a fan of, playing Bill Sharman. Adrian Brody as Pat Riley. and you see him transforming from the player Pat Riley to the coach Pat Riley. You've got Jason Segel playing Paul Westhead. Tracy Letts is Jack McKinney, who is just this brilliant mind of basketball, yet never really gets the credit he deserves. Just down the line, Sally Fields is in this playing Jerry Buss's mom, and it just stops in the tracks when she shows up. You're like, that's freaking Sally Fields. I didn't even know she was going to be in this, but just a great cast, great lineup. And so far, I came across the show because Nick Barucci was talking about it on Facebook and how he's loving the series. And I'm like, well, I grew up in the Lakers. I'm kind of curious. I am stunned, that there's so much I didn't know about the team. I didn't realize that that's the year Jerry Buss bought the team, and that McKinney only came in. He only coached like a dozen games before getting into a serious bike accident. That's how Paul Westhead ended up there. Pat Riley was the color commentator before being pulled in to help Westhead. Just that was when Jerry West left the team. Yet he didn't really leave. And I mean, if you know anything about the history, Jerry West goes on to be the general manager after Bill Sherman. All of that is playing out, but it's done so well. Oh, yeah, John points out the bathroom scene that just came across this last week. Westhead has no confidence. He used to be he was teaching Shakespeare and gets called back in when McKinney gets the job. And he only gets the job because Jerry Tarkanian, who's this famous basketball coach who was always known for maybe, what's a good way to put it, violations of recruiting laws, gets cold feet when the mob actually offs one of his buddies. Well, McKinney gets this job, but Westhead is just the assistant, and then suddenly he's thrust into it. He has no confidence in himself. He even just talks about how he's accepted his role in life is to be the guy that makes other people better, and then suddenly he's in the lead. Well, you've got this scene where Pat Riley has to force him to step up because he's losing the team, and literally throws him into the shower and just, has this confrontation with him. And at that moment, you see the birth of the Pat Riley that we see as this huge basketball icon for years is in that moment. It's a great scene. Mark says, I'm sure Magic doesn't love being portrayed as such a womanizer. He doesn't. But the history is kind of there, for me, the scene that him getting his agent, Dr. Day, to break up with his girlfriend is just cold, especially since he was dating Day's daughter. It's like, and then sends him to take tickets to Cookie, who ends up becoming his wife in real. I mean, that's just, it's an amazing show because you don't know where it's going. I mean, you could look up online and go, oh, well, what was the season like for the Lakers? Oh, well, yeah, they beat the Celtics. Well, if you don't know that going in, the drama of the game that they play against the Celtics, or, I think the less you know is the better because it's so well timed. I mean, the timing on this show is phenomenal, but you get these humorous moments with these incredibly intense drama moments, like, when he buys the team from, I didn't know the Chrysler building was part of the deal to buy the Lakers, the actual Chrysler building. But there's a scene where he finds out that there's a balloon payment on the Forum, and his mom comes up with this plan that's supposed to move the team into his ex-wife's. I don't want to give away too much, but there's this moment that he has a standoff with the bank, and he's basically bluffing because he thinks things are a certain way, and then he finds out later they're not. There's just such an intensity to that. It's amazing. Mark points out the filming style is fantastic. They do a lot of stuff that, breaking the fourth wall happens a lot. And it's not just one character. Anybody may turn and suddenly break the fourth wall. The other thing that's really cool is that every once in a while they'll switch to this almost like VHS scratchy style, like it's being filmed like a documentary. And it's just phenomenal. It really is. I got hooked. I turned it on Saturday night. Thought, I'll watch an episode before, I'm going to go crash out soon. But I'll watch one to see what Nick's talking about. I'd say 30 seconds in, I'm hooked. Just Riley, Jerry Buss talking to you, and then just how it all clicks. I ended up watching the 6 episodes that were available and was disappointed because Sunday was supposed to be a new episode. So I got up Sunday morning thinking, okay, I'll have number 7. Turns out, no, they don't put it on until like 6 o'clock. And I was doing Popco the Writer at that time, and I'm sitting there watching my watch going, can we finish this so I can go watch the next Magic Time or Winning Time? Now, if you're curious why they call it Winning Time and not Showtime, which is the term the Lakers were known for at that point, it's mainly because HBO Max thought we probably shouldn't have a show with the same name as one of our big competitors. So it's based on a book called Showtime, but they changed it to Winning Time, which is, I think, an actual term that's tied to Magic Johnson anyway. But for me, the only disappointment was that Kurt Rambis isn't part of this because he wasn't on the Lakers yet, and he's always been my favorite Laker. Other than that, the show is just freaking phenomenal. If you haven't given it a shot, you should. It is probably some of the best writing on TV right now. It's definitely some of the best acting. And again, if you know nothing about basketball, it's probably better because then none of it's going to be spoiled for you. You don't know how the season ends. John says, as a Blazer fan, I remember McKinney took the job and got in the accident, but nothing about all that other stuff. Yeah. Didn't McKinney end up with the Blazers 2 seasons later? I think it was. And he's kind of the guy that changed basketball, basically. Up until then, everybody would run to their position and stand there and pass the ball around till it was open. And he was the one about constant moving and what became the triangle offense that Pat Riley runs. Or no, triangle was Phil Jackson. But yeah, Pat Riley's offense, the flowing, the Zen master. Yeah, it is phenomenal. And I highly recommend it to everybody, whether you're a fan of sports or not. It is entertaining. There's a lot of stuff that you won't want your kids to see, so put them out of the room. There's nudity in the first 10 seconds of the show. But, all right, one last comment. Sean says, this era of the Lakers is probably the only time in which you could make a show about. The 90s Bulls might be the only other team. Yeah. You could. No, I will disagree with you just because you could do a show about the Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant era with how those two had problems and stuff. I think that could work as well, but this is probably the most entertaining of it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. I am told that Black Comic Universe actually had to cancel, so come back for in stores this week. No, come back for Minute to Skim It, which is an hour from now, and then in stores this week at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, where Jay and I will go through a bunch of good books. And I guess I don't have to rush off because we have no show after us, but thank you guys for tuning in. Please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It would be grateful for that. Tomorrow we will talk about the Batman, and come join the conversation. I want to hear from you guys. Mark, John, Sean, all of you guys, come in. Luxor, tell me what you guys thought of the Batman. Let's have a conversation. Come and join in. We'll see you guys tomorrow on The Experience. Have a good night.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.